So, Chris, I wasn't joking. You received some mail, and I'm going to pretend to read some paper here and tell you this is, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure how the letter came in. It said, Yo, homies, what are y'all planning to do with AI? We got some sweet shiz coming out soon from Sam Alternate Man. I don't want to get sued, although this logo and everything's close enough. Maybe we will get a takedown. What do you think, dude? In all honesty, obviously you're doing
Yeah.
some crazy stuff with AI. In some places, we found solutions. AI is just terrible.
Yeah. 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 So this is good. This is good. I like these kind of segments because we can just kind of, riff. Like we don't have to be like super formal. And so I'll say like we've been watching AI for a long time. We've been kind of interested in it. I've been pretty negative on AI for a long time from the standpoint of how to apply it to security. And this is always the challenge for us. And when I look at security and look at like why have we as Huntress been successful where maybe some others haven't been as successful or have more false positives or are less consistent, right? Where they're more inconsistent. A lot of that comes from the way that we approach the problem, which is not let's collect a ton of data. And then we have too much data, nobody can look at it. And then, oh, we'll just hope that we can throw AI at it and hope that it figures out some patterns of what's good or bad or the other. That's an approach a lot of vendors have taken. That was silence, right? That was their whole thing. Hey, we are going to identify malware that no one's seen before because we're going to use AI and we'll train the machine learning models and they'll find all this stuff, even though no human's ever seen this pattern before. And that was a pretty wild thought and it worked pretty
I
well.
was gonna say against the binaries, the actual compiled
Yeah.
EXEs and stuff, it worked pretty freaking good. I think
Yeah.
Silence deserves a lot of credit for our bringing kind of ML at least into cybersecurity.
100%. The where it fell apart and the problem that they ran into was that at some point they were like, "Hey, cool, we're finding all these things, but we're missing a few things and we got a couple false positives. Let's add some more data and stuff so that we can get it better." And they'd add more data and they'd have fewer less false positives in one place, but more in another, and they'd catch more stuff here, but then they'd miss things over there. And it became very hard to tune this machine with a bunch of knobs where you didn't really understand how each knob affected the machine. And so they could never really get beyond a point where, um, they could catch everything. They got it to a point, and it was a lot of effort, a lot of research time, a lot of development for really diminishing returns. And ultimately, that hurt them because people didn't want all those false positives. They'd bought into this narrative of AI. It's going to solve all the stuff. And now you're telling me there's a bunch of false positives and I still got to go do work.
This literally reminds me of RSA, whatever, 3 weeks ago. Like every Waymo I saw, it's amazing. It's driving. It's also getting passed by all the other cars on the road because they're just annoyed shitless that it's like a 16-year-old kid driving the car, not like an actual grown adult behaving in a crazy city traffic. So I feel you
Yeah.
on that one. Do you know what, Chris, for me, where it comes and where I think at Huntress, like the where we're actually probably going to apply this? I think there's two sets of words that one, if this was like the Drake meme, one of them I'm like, and the other one I'm like, you know, um, it's the probabilistic outputs. And what really grinds my gears is quit telling me some of these loose probabilistic LLM results, like even our own search is probably, if we kick off that sim search the way that we think we're going to do it, it's probably going to occasionally generate you a really crappy query that doesn't do what you want. That's just the way probabilistic output works. And it's great when that's augmenting you. But when I actually want deterministic outcomes, like I sleep easy at night because I know, not just believe, I know I'm going to get a predictable outcome. And it's not just going to be
Yeah.
like, I got you some of the way there, and now you got to figure out the rest of the way there. Like, let's use
Right.
AI for breaking down complex things into many different steps. Let's augment the way we think. And I think that's how, at least of all the experimentation we're doing internally with AI, even the stuff from like many years ago to what the current version of this is, the thing that I will give you all commitment, like just from like founders to you all as an audience, is you're going to see us. stay away from the marketing that presents probabilistic output and trying to sell you on outcomes. You're not going to see that from
Yep.
us. It's just it's internally a cultural thing. Our CPO, Prakash, he's the old CPO at Freshworks that helped build them into a massive, company of consequence. And we all three just really agree with it's about delivering the right solution at the right time. And we know ultimately at the end of the day, you want our experience. So you won't see us massively pivot away from humans. You will see us better use augmentation. So for instance, Chris is using right now some abilities to abstract many different complex database queries and many different disparate systems within Huntress's backend to enable our SOC to ask more simple questions and get answers. But we're going to do it in a way that we're very careful about cost. Because to be very frank, right now, I know I've used Waymo as one example. I still think we're in the early days of Uber. Well, remember where all those rides when they were displacing taxis were actually pretty affordable. And then one day the VC money fell out of it, and all of a sudden your Uber cost is now 2.5 times more. I think that there is some possibility that the compute changes and AI changes will actually get better. We'll get better at training models. I'm not ruling out the possibility that we're not still in a world where AI could actually still get more expensive, not less. I don't think we know there. So at least from me to you all, like,
Yep.
I think there is the right time. And if I could give you any one analogy, just even from your own organization, don't forget, like, Apple has become a multiple trillion-dollar company, not because they are first movers. Almost always does Samsung beat them to an initial feature, but often Samsung's implementation of these features are kind of crap or
Yeah.
kind of mediocre,
Yeah.
or they're really good, and then Apple immediately catches up in a release, right? So I would just encourage you all, experiment the heck out of this stuff, play to wit's end and be honest, and I'll give you that same commitment on our end. Like, we are experimenting all over the place of where we can do it, but we are keeping your outcomes, and part of your outcomes is the financial cost in mind. And when we think that there's real gain, we're going to probably roll in that type of stuff, especially where the gain isn't going to have dramatic impact. So that's just a long way of saying we haven't figured out all the different financial models. We definitely haven't figured out all the tech models. But the one thing we are staying very realistic with is the hype cycle. We're going to leave that to other people who are overhyping what AI can do. Although we are internally in some places doing some like freezing of positions while we see how much AI can actually allow us to be able to do more. Really still not seeing AI replacing humans. We're seeing AI
Yeah.
enable humans that aren't using AI to replace those humans, but not vice versa. So anyways, I'll jump off that,
Yeah.
Chris, but I appreciate your mail, section
Yeah.
here. Does that leave
Absolutely.
us with enough time? Because I
I
know
think so.
we had some of these, and we want to kick this off, by the way. If you have other stuff for the mailbag, if you've got questions, hit us up. Marketing@huntress.com. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you have.
Yeah.
We're going to take this somewhat serious. Obviously today was seeding it with a fake Sam Altman or Alterman or whatever we called him just a second ago. But the point that I'm getting at is please send us your questions.